Good afternoon, Year 4. Today then, it's the 25th of the 1st, 21, and it's Mrs. Passmore for your next art lesson. Now, last week we looked at playing with Play-Doh or plasticine or clay and working out what different shapes and coils we could create with that, ready to design our dragon eye. So today's lesson then is all about the planning and design of it before next week where we actually get on to make it. Okay, so let's have a look at what we're going to do. So today then we're doing the planning stage. So you're going to have to get yourself engrossed in what you're doing, manage your distractions, use imitation, have a look at some of the smart boards and magpie some of their good ideas and put them into yours. So, in order to become a dragon eye expert, we need to study them first. So we're going to have a look at a few different dragon eyes, and you can either do it on a piece of paper or in the back of your English book, or just talk to someone at home about them and see what you like about them, what you don't like about them. So here on the screen then are 5 different dragon eyes, and they're all similar in some ways but very different in others. And I want you to have a little think about which ones do you like, what don't you like, is there something in particular you really like? For example, I like the colour, I'm always drawn when I look at this page to the blue one, because that blue and very dark navy blue and black with the striking white in the middle really appeals to my eye. Whereas, for example, the green one in the bottom corner with the orange eye, I don't seem to notice very much when I look at it, but someone else might look at it and think the complete opposite. Have a look and talk to someone who's at home with you possibly about which ones you like. And then here's some drawing or sketches of some that someone did last year. So you can see how they've got the eye in the middle and then they've built up the texture around the outside. So here are some waggles then, what a good one will look like. And this is what we're aiming for next week. Okay, so what do you like about this one? Now I like the way, for example, that it's not a complete shape. I like how some of the points go off from the main shape. What do I dislike about it? Well, some of it is a little bit flat. There's not as much texture in it as what we'll see on like the next slide. So I think there could be a little bit more texture and detail. And then have a thought with your knowledge of clay from last week. How have they created some of these ideas? Have they rolled coils? Have they used twists? Have they braided it? Have a little think. And once you've had a go at thinking about those questions with someone at home, or jotting them down, or just thinking about them in your head, move on to the next slide. So this is one of my favourite ones. What do you like about this one? What do you dislike? Now I really like on this one all the braids along the bottom and how small and intricate they are. Now intricate means like small and very precise and delicate. I like how that then almost swirls in. If you look here, it's been braided along here, but then they've coiled it as well at the end. And all these small coils that they've then stood up on end almost look like lots of little snails, which I really like as well. And here's another eye. This one looks a bit more striking with its very definite pointy angles, but then with its large smooth part across the middle of the eye, and then it's almost layered texture where they've pressed down in the clay in order to make the texture. So what do you like about this one? What do you dislike? Have a little think. So when you do your design today, you're going to be using pencil. So you've got to think about how you could create some texture with your pencil in your design to try and portray what it will look like when you do it in clay or Play-Doh next week. So you've got to think about how hard you press with your pencil, the tones or the textures, the way you press with your pencil in different directions. So here's some ideas that may help you. Oh, let's scroll back up. So you can see here they've done lots of little strokes on top of each other to build up the pattern. These are like little swirls, but they've left gaps in it to show the light and the dark. Here is a bit like on the last dragon eye where you can see where they've imprinted along the clay. So those are just some ideas you may wish to try on yours today. Now, before you get designing then, you've got to think a bit about your success criteria. What are we aiming for? Well, by the end of next week, we would like you to have made a dragon's eye that will be 3D, so it's not necessarily going to be 2D on paper. It needs to have texture and definition. It needs to be eye-catching and appealing. Okay. Now, your first part of your dragon's eye will involve having a similar design to one of these eyes here in the centre. And these are like the complete contrast because they're really bright. Okay. So when you draw these parts, you want to use felt tip pens to make them really stand out. And you're going to have a go today at designing your dragon eye completely. Now, if we were in school, we'd have been using this planning sheet here. Now, if you have a printer at home and you wish for someone to print it off for you, you can print it off and then you can work through each criteria, ending with your drawing at the end. If you're like me and you're working from home and you haven't got a printer at home, is you can do similar to what I have done. Now, here's mine. So I've looked at that piece of paper on the Smart Notebook and I've given myself the same title, Plan and Design a Dragon Eye. Now, design criteria is part of my planning. Well, I know I need to have a bright centre. I've written an intricate design because I really like the fact when they were really tight and precise. And then I'm going to put down here pointy because I do think that some of the pointy ideas really make a dragon's eye come to life. And then the other criteria is what will I need? Well, I'm going to need Play-Doh or clay. I'm going to need my different tools like I had in last week's lesson for next week when I make it. I'm going to need felt tip pens to do my middle section, and I'm going to need paper next week in order to draw my eye on in the middle to then build my design around. So I've drawn here around something round. Okay, so I've placed it down, I've drawn around it to get my centre. Now, I'm going to have then a really dark slit going through the middle of my eye like this. Okay, so I'm then going to colour that in black. Okay, then I want my eye to be really bright and colourful. Now, I quite like the idea of the ones that have got red, so I'm going to draw some red coming off from it. I'm going to try to add another colour as my background, I think, like this. And then I'm going to add another colour as my background. I think I might go with orange. Bit of a fiery look. Okay. Like this. And then once I've got my eye in the centre, I can then start to think about how my dragon eye is going to be built up in clay. But I know that my shape of my dragon eye is going to be like this. So I'm going to draw that first. And then I can start to build it up. Now I think that I quite like that bit where on some of them they had that swooping bit of clay that went across the eye. Quite smooth, quite slick. Like that. And it was built up a bit, wasn't it? And then I really liked the plaited idea of the braiding of clay. So I'm going to draw some of my clay along here, almost like an under part of my eye in a plaited design. And then all the way around the middle, I really liked those swirling designs. So I'm going to try and build my eye up with those swirling coils around my centre of my eye. And then I've still got lots more to play with. Now I quite like the fact that there were some bits that were sticking out, quite jagged. I think I'm going to try and add a jagged part to the bottom of mine. And then I'm going to keep playing around until I'm happy with my design. Now I'm going to pause the video here and then I'm going to come back and show you what I've managed to do. Okay, so as promised then, I have completed mine. So here's my dragon's eye then. I have built up using coil designs, using pressed down clay, I think, when I build it, using some of these pointy shapes that I'm going to slick together when I build it next week. This nice big swooping part across the top of the eye, a bit of braiding across the bottom before the sharp bits at the bottom. I think it needs one more there. Now, I know that when I go to make it next week, mine will probably change as I start to build it. Because when you start to build it, you work out what you really like and bits in order to make it better. But there's my design. So that's what you're aiming for by the end of today's lesson. Okay, have a really good go, have fun with it. You might choose to do me 1 or 2, maybe 3 different designs, so you have a good choice, and then take a photo and send it to your teacher. And I look forward to showing you next week how to make our dragon's eye. See you soon, Year 4. Bye.